upon joining staff, we would have like these staff prayer sets that were really cool and really awesome. And it was only staff that were allowed to be there. There was no live stream. The most you could do was voice memo, just for the sake of it just being a moment to receive and letting like the Lord just do what He's wanting to do. This is my second time leading at Every Heart. I was in a moment of like weakness for sure, like nervousness, just like being super unfamiliar with what I was doing, but like knowing why I came into the room, and I was like glorify Him and to love on Him and to give Him what He's worth. And so then I was leading a song called Raining, which is just such a fire song because it's like there's no room to look at yourself in that song. And we were saying the word all like consistently, all glory, all honor, all blessing, all power. And like the Lord was really just hitting me with the concept of all. When you've given Him everything, when you've given Him the all, there's still all the more to give. There's not a cap to how much we can give to Him. Jonah had talked about where he had basically had mentioned that some people are okay with keeping at least like 3% of the glory, or at least 1% of the glory, because at least God's still receiving 97 or 99, but that we would be a people who wouldn't take any of it. And so with that being brought to mind, the concept of all, like it led us to this moment where the Lord was putting faith in me just to sing simply like that we wouldn't want no percentage of His glory. It was as simple as just counting down from 10 to 1. When I first started singing it, I thought everyone in the room immediately caught it. And I think that's just the kindness of the Lord and His hand upon the moment. From what I've heard, people at first were like, are we seriously going to count down to 10? But as we're counting down from 10 to 1, like the hesitancy to almost respond unified in that was almost like a exposing of like the flesh of like, are we seriously going to sing this? And it's like, well, isn't He worth it? Isn't He worthy of every percentage of it? Like, isn't He worthy of the discomfort? The room just erupted in genuine worship and genuine praise, and it was a really awesome moment to see us as a body, as a staff, to be so unified underneath this concept of like, no, like we actually haven't come here to build our own ministry. We haven't come here to have a cool moment to post. We haven't come here for a trending song or whatever it may be. We genuinely have just come here to worship our King. After that, I went like walking to like this grocery store that was across the street. I was like, wow, Lord, just debriefing with Him. Like, God, that was such a profound moment that you like you imparted on our staff and just like with us. I saw Brennan. He invited me to write on the song, or write on that moment, the moment of I don't want 10%, I don't want 9%. I told him I'd pray about it, but I had like an immediate yes in my heart. Other than the moment the Lord had downloaded within that Wednesday prayer set, like everything was really just seeking like the Lord's like best and highest. And there's a lot of wrestling over lyrics, over what we're trying to communicate, but the Lord had just really blessed us with so much imagery. I think it stood the test of time for us of like, cause usually you write on something and it's like, actually this really isn't it. But we both felt like there was something of significance the Lord was wanting to do within the body of Christ and within our community through like the writing of this song. One huge piece of imagery that I had got was like the picture. Because when we're thinking about like giving Him all the glory, we have to address that on the cross He was given none. And so I think the first lyric is like left His glory and majesty to bear the cross marred for us. And it was almost like He left His glory. He was in the fullness of what He was worthy of and what He was deserving of. He didn't have to leave. He was receiving the praise and worship consistently 24 hours. And He left that, being unified with the Father, to be forsaken on a cross. The song isn't necessarily trying to communicate our offering. And it's not about like Brian Hernandez giving God like all the glory and then me being the focal point of my worship. It's genuinely, we want to address the fact that there was glory that He wasn't given, and our response to knowing that He was deprived, for a lack of a better word, of that on the cross should push us into a deeper posture of like, oh, this is the royal King who like humbled Himself just for me. And it's not about me giving Him what He's worthy of. It's just about giving Him what He's worthy of. Is that like how do I take myself out of being the main character of my own life? That like my life and the ministry I do would be something unto a furthering of my ministry, or a furthering of just my life in general. But how do I like change that. And I realize sometimes in songwriting or in songs I've heard, like the focal point of our worship becomes our offering rather than him. I'll give you everything, I'll give you everything. But it's like we're not like necessarily communicating like who he is. The temptation of maybe someone hearing this song is that I have to give everything, I have to give everything. And yes, but it's not out of religiosity, it's out of like devotion. Because I know I can get myself stuck in the idea of like I have to give him everything and there's like no love in it. What we wouldn't want to happen, and I don't think the Lord would even want to happen, would be that we'd listen to the song and feel obligation rather than like a desire to give it all to him. Like the cross paid for the sacrifice that was unto knowing him. Now we just get to give like sacrifices of like devotion, of like free will offering. And so as you're listening to the song, it's not a song unto religious or hyper-religious works-based offering, but it's the joy found in being his, that yes, the royal one, God, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Alpha and the Omega, there's like millions of names for him, that he himself saw you as worthy to leave his throne, to endure the cross, that he would know you. And so how could we not give him everything, the Father who loved us before we even drew our first breath?